Hello and welcome to another TipHaus Insider webinar. Today, very exciting topic. We are going to be talking about how you pay your tips and why the old way of paying tips is costing you time and money and potentially a number of other items. But today I'm very excited and we'll be covering our Earn Tip Access program, lots of the benefits and a lot of fun things along the way, of course. If this is your first TipHaus Insider webinar, I am your host. My name is Kirk Grogan. I'm the COO and co-founder over here at TipHaus. And first things first that we always like to cover on these webinars, a little bit of housekeeping here for us team. There is a live chat. So very important to know on the right side of your screen. I believe from your view that at least is where it exists from my side. You can ask questions at any time during this piece. We have a wonderful customer success rep who always joins these and we'll be answering them live for you as we go. At the very end, I will then pull some up, share them, be giving my take on the answer. We'll recap, we'll cover things of that nature. But important element here is to always feel free, as you're going or as you have the question, go ahead and ask it. You may get a real answer immediately from that in the chat. And if not, I may try to dive into that as we get to the end, of course. So worth noting always is we are recording. The restaurant industry is chaos. I'm not going to pretend it's not. I know it very well. So if you've got a fire to put out, whether that's, literally or other, please feel free to go do so just by registering. That means you will get a copy of the recording sent to you via email immediately after. There are resources throughout this. So if you have a phone handy, we do often utilize QR codes for registrations and things of that nature. Feel free to have your phone around. Similarly, we will be emailing this out. If you don't get a link to it, you'll have some quick links in that email for you. Last but certainly not least, we do a $50 Starbucks gift card winner for every one of these webinars. So please, just by being here, you are automatically entered. And every question you ask also gives you an entry. So ask those questions. We love the engagement. We will try to get back to each one of you. But with that, and without further ado, let's dive on in. Our webinar goals today. Here is what I'm hoping we kind of walk away from. Obviously, I want to make sure operators, owners, managers gain a clear understanding of what TipHaus is doing to address challenges on the tip management and the daily digital tip payouts. Number of items there, of course, making sure that we're reducing turnover. Obviously, with that is improving retention, that we're lowering potential fraud or errors, number of items there. And we're going to learn how we improve staff satisfaction, how we make things far more efficient for your team, how we get rid of a lot of the legal risk, or at least how we make sure you stay in legal compliance. Number of fun items on that as well. So let's dive on in. What is TipHaus, first of all? If you're not already a customer, I saw the attendee list and several of you are, so you already know this well. But TipHaus, we are one of the fastest growing daily digital payout platforms. We also are one of the most comprehensive automated tip calculation platforms that exist in the world today. We automate the entire calculation process. We guarantee accuracy. We obviously are given simplicity for the owners, the operators, the employees alike, making sure that everything's moving on that end. And of course, we have about $500,000 hospitality professionals, hospitality professionals that are trusting TipHaus to get their tips right every single day. Something we take great pride in. And many of the founders and employees here are from the hospitality industry. So we know it well, and we like to make sure that those lives get a little bit easier. With that, lots of challenges in the tipping industry. And so if you are using a different platform, if you're still using Microsoft Excel or, God forbid, a piece of paper or napkins, and I've seen that for some restaurants here, number of problems arise there. One, making sure that we're actually being fair in how we distribute. A lot of platforms that were not created for the sole express purpose do not have the functionality needed. You're going to end up kind of splitting tips more evenly across the team than perhaps should be rewarded. We want to make sure the majority of our tips are getting to our tip earners, the people that are really driving the revenue for this business, and that we're supplementing the supporting staff around that in accordance to the efforts that they are giving and how they're providing efforts to the service, of course. There are a number, of course, of frauds, errors, issues. How often we can think of, employees forgetting to clock out at the end of the night. Maybe you have several employees who work multiple jobs, such as, they're a bartender and a server. Maybe they work cocktails some nights on Fridays and Saturdays. All of those items are leading to errors if they clock in incorrectly and you don't catch it. It's a massive drain on operations, on your employees to know what's going on. It is something you really want to get out of the darkness, bring it to the light, make sure everybody sees it. You've got transparency across the organization about what's going on. And then, of course, we run into things like spreadsheets that can't guarantee legal compliance for tip data, right? They don't know. All it is you typing information in. They're not pulling it directly from the point of sale or the time and attendance platform. When you make updates in those systems, your Excel sheet isn't automatically tracking that or picking up on it. It's not noting when you paid these employees out. So if you've got to recalculate that, okay, well, did that money already go to them, or are we still sitting on and about to pay them out? All of those need to get resolved if you can. It is no secret. Lawsuits have been ticking up in the industry. You've got a whole section of the legal industry that is a little, I'm going to call it ambulance chasing, and going after restaurants that they think they can pop for this. These are typically six-figure. We have seen multiple seven-figure lawsuits that arise out of this. And again, this often isn't intentional fraud. This isn't anything that's, nefarious. It is, someone made a mistake in the Excel sheet, right? They adjusted the actual formula 3 months ago. We didn't catch it, but that means we've been underpaying, overpaying, mispaying our employees for the last 3 months. If you have multiple locations or multiple concepts, that starts to amplify really quickly. Even if you go and win the lawsuit, winning lawsuits is often still quite expensive. So we want to make sure we're squashing that and getting rid of that all around. To drive that point home, this is, I think most of these are even recent. You don't have to go far. Here at TipHaus, obviously, we track the lawsuits internally. We've got a whole automated feed for them, and they are all over the place, guys. So something I do not ever mean to fearmonger. That is not our intention, but it is a reason to make sure you have an automated tip policy that, there's no room for errors, mistakes, or fraud or otherwise to occur, because those get unbelievably expensive. It's a massive loss of trust within your team. You're going to have turnover. You're going to have trouble with a lot of different items going forward. So how is TipHaus solving these challenges? Of course, we are in completely automated tip distribution. And what we do is it's based on predefined rules, or tip logic, as we like to call it. And I'll be showing that in a live demo here in just a few minutes as we go through it. But our goal here is to make sure that we're getting rid of the need for cash tips, for frequent bank runs, to make sure that all employees have transparency, that they have fairness, that they believe in the mission and the culture that you establish. Keeping $40,000 in a safe in the back office is no longer, never should have been viable, but let's say there is an increase in crime for that. We've seen a number of times where former employees have let individuals know, hey, Monday night's the night they re-up on bank runs, and then there's a string of robberies at the chain. We've seen that time and time again from groups that'll reach out to us and say, hey, we need to get rid of keeping tens of thousands of dollars on hand, because there's obviously security and legal risk with it. Similarly, we integrate seamlessly, with existing point of sales. We create automated custom reports for different payroll systems. We ensure all the data is in one location where you have quick visibilities, that you have accurate tip reporting. And of course, we eliminate all manual data entry. Part of the whole piece of integrating with these and automating this is we want your staff to be doing more valuable things. Get your managers back on the floor, whether they're greeting guests, touching tables, making sure that your staff are trained up and looking for opportunities for improvement. All of those are infinitely more valuable than what we're going to see in them sitting in the back office typing a number of things into an Excel sheet. So without further ado, I would now love to show you all a little bit closer about what we're seeing here. And if I share this tab and make sure that I am indeed seeing, yes, we are. So what you're going to see here is the home screen of TipHaus. If you're already a customer, this should be very, very familiar. But you can customize this to have any of the data points that you want, none of those that you don't. This is obviously a demo organization with it, so I'll drive you through a few of the items here. First, when we think about tip logic, this is going to talk about how do we pay your employees out? How do we make sure they're getting the right amount of money on a timely basis that encourages them to stick around and ensure that they're working with us continually? The first step to that is giving them transparency. It's to making sure that you have a fair tip policy, that it's automated, that your management does not have to pay attention to it. So in this instance, you'll see we've already got some predefined rules, and this is going to be, front of house to supporting staff. So if we click into this, we might see exactly what it is. We're collecting 1.5% of sale price for just our food items from servers and bartenders, and we're giving those to expos and hosts. People that are making sure the food's coming out hot, looks great, it's accurate according to the ticket, and hosts that are making sure the tables get sat, that tables get turned over. Maybe they're doing a little bit of bussing as well if you don't have a busser on that day. Great. This is looking excellent, but What we need to do now is create a rule that's saying, hey, our servers need to be giving a little bit of money to the bartenders for alcohol. Bartenders are taking time away from their guests seated at the bar top to ensure that guests on the floor are getting their drinks in a timely manner. So we want to kick back a little bit of server to our bartenders. And what we can do here is apply it to all of our 3 locations that we run. We'll name this, and so we would call it server to bar. We can set our effective dates. We can schedule this for Friday, Saturdays, or any days that you see fit, or hour windows if it makes sense according to your establishment and how you run. And next, we're going to say we want to give 2.5% of just our sales of beer, liquor, and wine. We don't need to worry about any of the appetizers, desserts, or entrees because bartenders are not assisting those individuals. We'll turn this to time of sale. It's proprietary, so you're only tipping out the people that are actively working when you're working. A PM server is not going to be tipping out that AM bartender for the work they did for the AM servers. And next, we're going to collect this from our servers and very simply distribute it to our bartenders. When I hit submit here, you will see a nice little summary of the rule pops up. And now when I click submit, you'll see that rule has gone into effect. So from this moment forward, every time a server makes an alcoholic sale on the floor and a bartender has to make those drinks for them, we're going to automatically take 2.5% from that sale price and kick it back to the bartender. Similarly, of course, we can run things like tip pools. And again, we always keep some examples in here for you. Where this really leads us to, though, and I want to be mindful of showcasing, is our breakdown page. This is going to be everything you need to run your business here. And this is kind of where the rubber meets the road as far as our reporting and making sure individuals are making the right amount. So we'll see how much in sales they've performed, total tips broken down by individual employees here. Obviously, our cooks are not bringing in tips versus our servers. They are. Bartenders are bringing things across. So as we go through this and we scroll gently to our right, we'll see everything being brought in directly from the point of sale right until we hit here. And this is what's happening with our tip logic. The rules that you implemented, you want to see how they're taking effect. Obviously, our servers are actually giving up some money. They're losing a little bit of money in the tip share and the tip pool. And that's what we want, right? It's going to the supporting staff, those hostesses, those expos, those bartenders who are helping them out. And then we can scroll all the way over, and now we can see some really fun things. Take home is the amount that you actually owe this individual for yesterday. You will see here we're looking at March 2nd. So after all of the tips have come in, this is how much you actually owe taxable line item to each of these employees to make sure they're paid in full. We obviously can bring in things, of course, like wages. If you were not on our last webinar, we covered a lot of our new functionality and what that looks like and how to pay attention to it. All of this this is where your information lives. This is what makes sure that you know what it looks like, how the employees are going to get paid, how many sales they did, tips they brought in. Are your tip policies fair? If you want to look over here and say, hey, should the servers be giving up on average this much money? Are we giving up a little too much based on the sales and tips that they're bringing in? Maybe. So what we want to adjust to is, hey, let's go from 2.5% to 1.5%. And you may jump right back over into our tip distribution column and adjust that rule on the fly, see the real world impacts and continue moving. But for now, I want to drive us into our ETA page. This is the crux of kind of what I want to talk to you about today. And when we think where TipHaus started on the SaaS side of calculating tips and where the industry started, a really, really important piece is cash is no secret, has completely been removed from the economy, let's call it. It was on its way out, right? If we look pre-COVID, it was already trending down. Credit cards were utilizing more. Very rarely did restaurants bring in enough cash to actually pay each employee out in cash at the end of the night. And that is exactly, what I used to utilize. I started my career back at Chili's way back in the day. And still remember, going in, turning out my server report, running through the numbers. My manager would put, 2 pieces of paper over an Excel file, show how it all kind of balanced out. I'd say, yeah, that seems to make sense. I brought in $100 in tips, I'm walking out with 80 because I had to tip out a couple people. Seems logical. Now we don't have that option. So restaurants are faced with a number of serious questions. And that is, do we go out and make bank runs? Do we do armored car deliveries so that we have cash on hand? Do we tell our employees that, hey, you're just going to get your tips on your next paycheck? Pro tip, it's not a secret as you're in the industry. Employees hate that. Industry standard forever has been tips at the end of the night At minimum, the next morning, if you've got to wait for all employees to clock off before you can run it, and we see that, you can come by anytime from 8 a.m. onward tomorrow. We'll have your tips labeled in an envelope for you to pick up. We'll just keep stacking it in there if you want to wait a day or two with it. Now, we live in a digital world, and the number one request we at TipHaus got in the early days is, hey, you're already calculating our tips. You're already telling us exactly how much to pay those employees. Can you just pay them? And of course, our answer was yes. Yes, we can, and we will. So we went out and partnered with an FDIC insured bank. We explored what I'm going to deem is a pay card option. However, pay cards ended up taking the work off of the restaurant owners and operators and just put that work back onto the employees themselves, where pay cards are not true debit cards. Any place that requires a hold on it, they can't be utilized. So think gas stations when you're getting gas. Think at a restaurant or bar when you open a tab. Very, very few pay cards allow those normal everyday spends to function correctly. So what you'd actually see is employees taking a pay card, going to an ATM, withdrawing cash. And again, you've kind of just kicked the can down the road and said, hey, we made our lives easier, but our employees now have to take the effort to go get the money that they want. Or they can pay a fee to transfer it off that card, all kinds of annoying, fun little gimmicky things. Instead, what we decided to do was say, hey, employees should have choices in front of them. They should be able to choose exactly what they want. And so I see in the chat here, we're chatting about it right now, and I'll give you a fun little example as I've got two of them in front of me. At TipHaus, we offer two different methods. One of those is HausMoney. This is our issued bank account. So we actually issue a DDA checking account. It comes with a secured credit card that goes with it as a credit building platform, meaning you can't spend money that you don't have. So it functions just like a debit card. If you try to spend money you don't have and it doesn't clear, it'll decline on you. But the whole goal is here, many of the individuals in the service industry, either low credit, no credit, they've never taken the time to build this up. So we do issue a HausMoney secured credit with a corresponding checking account to it. Comes with a mobile app that they can use. They can issue a digital card to themselves as well from the moment they sign up. That way they can plug that into things like Apple Pay or Google Pay, and they can receive their tips on this every day. Goes right to it, functions exactly as you would expect because it is through FDIC insured banks, meaning it functions just like you'd like it to. Similarly, we say, hey, a lot of employees, they're career servers. They already make good money. They don't need a new bank account. They've already got established. Maybe they're with Bank of America, something of that nature. They say, I've already got my phone payments, my car bills, all of that is already plugged into this account. I don't want to open a new account and swap those over. No problem. You can get your tips pushed directly to any 16-digit debit card of your choosing for a nominal fee for that organization, just for the employees as they're receiving it. And the entire premise there is, again, we believe in choice. Worth noting is all employees can also choose to get it on paychecks if they so choose. We want to make sure that we're giving choices. What you don't want to get yourself into, that we've seen a number of times, is managers are forced to choose a program carte blanche all over for the entire organization. And now you may be satisfied 30, 40, 50% of your employees, but the others wanted a different option. They wanted to get it on paychecks, whatever it might be. By doing it in this manner, we're making sure the managers don't have to make any tough choices. Hey, employees, choose which program works best for you. You can switch between them at any time. And if we dive back into our screen here and we start looking over this, what are we seeing here? Well, Kirk, this looks a lot like the breakdown page you just showed. Correct, it does. And that's kind of the intention here. What we're looking at is the most recent pay period, but we can also just jump to a specific piece, and we can jump to the last. This is how much employees were eligible, how much they earned in tips after all distributions occurred. You can scroll through it. You can apply an amount reserved. There's a number of reasons to do something like this, but we often recommend it in the sense, in case reconciliations need to happen, if you're an organization where employees often forget to clock out and the managers aren't diligent about adjusting it, we actually recommend paying out 80, 90% of your tips, but leaving just a little bit that will be paid out on the very last payout of the pay period. But this allows adjustments to be made without having to take money back from the employees. Number of reconciliation pieces, and I won't dive through all of the fun offers that we have with it, but we want to make sure that it functions like you need it to. We have groups that pay out 100% of their tips because they say, no, our managers every morning at 8 a.m. are logging in and doing punch corrections. Every time that payout goes, it should be 100% accurate. We want our employees to have access to 100% of their funds. Great. We give you that option, whatever suits your restaurant. And then you'll see kind of here the amount payable and available to pay out. And these should match typically, of course. So as we're looking at this, okay, we go through it. This looks good. You would click it, initiate payout button. And this would tell you exactly how much is about to be debited from your account and paid directly to your staff. An important note about TipHaus that we know some other, just payment providers. There are very few groups that do calculations and payments, but there are some groups out there that do payments exclusively. You typically must provide your own float. That means the restaurant is taking 3 to 4 days worth of tips, and you have to put that into a holding account on behalf of that company so that, they're not out any money. They're making sure that they're able to pay through it. But you are always now sitting on $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 per location that is sitting in a separate account, not yours to use as you see fit. TipHaus, we do not like that model. That's why we've negotiated and done all the hard work on your behalf. We cover the float entirely for you. There is no upfront cost to this. There's no amount of money you have to sitting aside. There's no additional cost outside of our monthly SaaS for restaurant operators to be able to utilize Earn Tip Access. Now, this is a demo account, so there's going to be a couple pieces here that don't show as you would expect. But when I click into my Show Employee Detail, this is going to show you how much is going to each employee, what that amount looks like, and which program they enrolled in, HausDirect or HausMoney, so you know exactly what's moving. HausMoney is always free to the employees. There's no payout fee ever on their behalf that the employees have to absorb. So they do have that option available to them at all times. And if you scroll on down here, you will see this initiate payout button, which is grayed out for me, of course, because there is no bank account linked to this to pay $14,000 to a bunch of my fake employees here in my demo account. But this would be blue. And we have thousands of restaurants that use this and click this button every single day to instantly pay out and make sure that their staff is getting paid. When you click this, that money is going, legally, we are not allowed to say instant, and I won't say instant, but I will say 99.9% of instances, it is under 30 seconds that money hits their account. If there is an issue in the banking world, as in banks are slowing things down or there's a lot of traffic, it could be up to a couple of minutes, but traditionally we're seeing that near real time for you. And that is the largest crux of what I want to cover with you. It's worth noting that we do have access to previous payouts, so you can always look at that, do debits of 1-to-1 for reconciliation. Our system does auto-reconcile. So, hey, in this instance, if we look at this, maybe Serenity was clocked in as a bartender where she was getting some tip payouts to her, but she was actually a server. And, 2 days after the manager catches it, money's already been paid out. They go and make that adjustment. Our system will automatically recalculate, and it will determine, hey, this is how much Serenity should have earned. And then we will adjust that next payout. And in the app, we will try to notify them exactly of what occurred and why and what the impact of that was to them, of course. But we'll give you a clean ledger so you can always chat with it and talk to your employee and say, hey, Serenity, you were getting tipped out for every alcoholic drink, even though you weren't the one making them. You ended up losing $17. So you got overpaid on Tuesday by $17, and Wednesday it was auto taken out. This is, again, where that amount reserved really comes into handy because we don't have to actually adjust their payouts. We just pull it from their float that they are putting and we move it across. And with that, couple more slides and I'll dive back into, but I do want to be mindful. One of our most popular and growing features is our QR tipping module. And a question we often get on the QR tipping is this eligible for ETA payouts? And the answer is yes, it is. So if you have an instance where you're bringing in QR tipping, whether you're doing big banquets or events or catering, or you have some buffet functionality, whatever it may be at your hospitality business, QR tipping and all tips that come through are eligible for ETA payouts and all of the tip logic that you know and love from TipHaus. So I know that was a speed run. We are always happy to give in-depth demos. Feel free to go to tiphaus.com and book one, and our sales teams will chat with you and walk you through it. We'll happily explain anything in greater detail relating exactly to your use case. But for now, I do want to jump briefly back and cover a couple of items here. First and foremost, okay, Kirk, this sounds great. What are the real benefits here? Well, of course, as we covered, saving you a lot of manual work, a lot of valuable time, simplifying a lot of items and taking some legal liabilities off the table, making sure your team runs a little more smoothly. It's enhancing that employee retention and satisfaction. Again, that transparency is key. I don't have time to walk you through it today with it in the employee app, but we do offer a completely free mobile employee app. They can track their tip earnings, and if you're enrolled in the ETA program, that is where they can choose which of the 2 card programs they would like to get paid out. They can choose HausMoney or HausDirect, get it on their existing debit card, and they can swap between. Say, hey, HausMoney was great when I was just starting, but now, my wife just opened an account at Bank of America or Wells Fargo. We're going to switch over there. I'd actually like to switch my card program. You can do it right in the app, 30 seconds or less. So a great option to be able to really improve the livelihoods of your staff, make your life much simpler. A few of the groups that are already utilizing this, Broadway Hospitality Group, for those of you who don't know, they've been with us for a number of years now. And they're averaging 250 hours per month across their concepts. They have increased their staff retention with digital daily tip payouts. That is a tongue twister. I apologize. Country Boy Brewing, incredible brewery. If you are not familiar, please go check them out. But they save $4,000 in man hours each month just by not having to handle paying out cash, calculating it for them, walking employees through it, or entering this into spreadsheets. Incredible savings and a large concept, you can imagine. And then, of course, Hideaway Pizza, spread across Texas and Oklahoma. Fabulous joint, if you're not familiar with it, down the road from me, so I'm fortunate enough to get over there relatively often. But 600 management hours per month across their 23 locations that they save. Leadership no longer has to handle cash deliveries or bank trips. They don't have to be on hand. They don't take that risk of absorbing them. All of those things that are freed up to focus on whatever is more important, which is just about anything at a restaurant, than manually typing in tip data into a spreadsheet and making sure that you're putting cash into envelopes for your staff. Again, I touched briefly on QR tipping, but I'd love to dive just a little bit more. Fabulous way that we are constantly blown away in understanding how restaurants, hotels, salons, different customers of ours are finding ways to use their QR codes. And all I want to touch on here is it's an amazing way for, as cash is fading from the economy, for you to be able to bring back an avenue to get tips to employees that may not be handing a checkout where you can sign and leave it, thinking in hotels of like valets and bellhops. In restaurants, when you've got kind of a corporate paid event that's going on, but the bartender, people are asking, how do I tip you? And they say, oh, well, it's already paid for and included. Yeah, well, I'd still like to tip you extra. A QR code does great there, encourages better service, makes your team members happy. And all of these are eligible for ETA, outstanding on that piece. And a couple customer quotes that I will not read for you, but I'll let you see exactly how they're going of kind of our Cheers and our Earn Tip Access program working together. Columbia Hospitality of the Pacific Northwest has been an exceptional customer, really finding innovative ways to utilize it. And then, of course, Riverside Hotel out of Idaho, I believe. But Jackie's a great friend of TipHaus and some amazing avenues that they're exploring with it, how they're utilizing it. And with that, team, thank you. If you are interested in learning more about TipHaus, simply pull out your phone, scan this QR code, and we will get you a free trial on this piece. You get your first month free. No strings attached. You are welcome to walk away. We do not believe in trying to, nefarious sales cycles here. We want you to try it. If it makes your life easier, we're confident you'll love it and go forward, but there is no risk to it. So please book a demo, chat with our sales team. A lot of your specific questions, our team is unbelievably knowledgeable and happy to walk you through any of these scenarios. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining for another TipHaus Insider webinar. Thank you again. I am Kirk Grogan, your host. And I really appreciate you joining for this fast-paced, fast-talking webinar where we tried to cover a lot of fun information today. But with that, I will turn it off and say thank you again. Have a wonderful Tuesday.